All right. So, NWA.
That's right.
NWA Championship Wrestling.
This show.
January 4th, 1986. Probably not as good as the January 4th show in the Tokyo Dome. Open with a clip of Dusty.
You don't know that.
I don't know. I said probably.
Yeah.
Open with a show opened with a clip. Yes. Of Dusty Rhodes putting a figure 4 on Ole Anderson as the Road Warriors ran interference and they stopped the Horsemen from breaking it up. And this would air about 18 more times before this show was through.
Hey, you got to get the angles over.
Tony Schiavone and David Crockett congratulated Dusty on winning the national championship. I have no earthly idea who had been the champion, and they did not tell me. He said Ole had suffered a serious leg injury at the hands of Rhodes.
It was, what's his face?
Landell?
Yeah. Pretty sure it was Landell.
I guess so. Yeah, Landell disappeared, and they all stopped mentioning him by name.
Yeah, they showed up, and...
Yeah, things happen. So, they brought in Tully Blanchard and J.J. Dillon, who I hope you're fans of these men. They're going to be around a lot in the next, 20 minutes. How long it takes to discuss this. Tully said he had hired J.J. as the associate director of Tully Blanchard Enterprises. I believe for the first time on this program, he referred to himself, the Andersons, and Flair as the Four Horsemen.
That's right.
Said that Dusty and his friends had been ganging up on them and taking them out. He said the former national champion had been managed by Dillon, but that guy had failed. He was a loser, and now Dillon was aligned with a winner. And Schiavone asked him about Baby Doll.
Here's the Wikipedia on this. Dusty Rhodes did get the title from Buddy Landell. Sort of. Landell won it at Starrcade, and then it says here, Rhodes was awarded the title in a phantom match after Landell was fired due to his drug problem. Wow.
Well, that'll happen.
Facts on Wikipedia.
Yes. And Schiavone asked him about Baby Doll, and they blew him off. Rock and Roll Express versus Jim Jeffers and Thunderfoot.
My goddamn favorite wrestler, Jim Jeffers.
I was going to say which one. So, it's very early in the match. Ricky Morton has Jim Jeffers in a headlock, and Jeffers devises a cunning plan. Behind Morton's back, he gestures towards his own tag team partner, Thunderfoot. He points at him, and he taps his own knee, letting him know, I'll push him into the ropes. You hit him with your knee. And then he pushes him into the wrong set of ropes.
It's so unbelievable. All I could think was, I hope that this was done on purpose. Because Jim Jeffers knew he was a jobber. And as a result, he's not as good as the other wrestlers. So it only makes sense that he would come up with a plan and then fuck up his own plan.
They cut him off. He took some wacky bumps, and they pinned him with a double dropkick.
Yeah. I love Jim Jeffers. He's like such an awesome jobber. And, it's great. Every old jobber gimmick. Slam the guy and lift him right back up. Oh, he's a classic.
Nothing will ever top.
Like, why don't you slam him and then cover him? Why do you slam him and then lift him back up again? Right?
Yeah. Nothing will ever top, though, when he said, tag team partner, help me, and then pushed him to the wrong set of ropes.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. If you like, I said this already. Yeah, every time Tully Blanchard appears in this promo, do a shot. Or appears in the show, do a shot. They were back for another promo. Schiavone asked him about Baby Doll again. And Tully tried to explain all he had done for Baby Doll. Took her out of nowhere. Gave her gifts, jewelry, furs. Took her on trips all over the world. And she had turned his back on him. He said, Dusty Rose, you once called that woman a Jezebel. And I defended her honor. But now I know she's even lower than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lower than a Jezebel.
So they go to commercial. When they come back, Blanchard and Dillon were still there.
Yes.
It was their third promo and I believe 3 segments. Dillon explains he has cut ties with all former clients. He is talking about Dusty Rhodes' conspiracy to take out the 4 Horsemen one by one. They said they was going to counterattack. And we were going to take out all the dominoes. And the domino at the end, obviously, was Dusty Rhodes. But that first domino, not someone like Sam Houston, who Dusty has trained. No. First domino is Dusty's best friend, Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah.
The Boogie Woogie Man.
No, he called him the Boogeyman.
The Boogie Man.
He called him the Boogie Woogie Man. The Boogeyman, Jimmy Valiant.
Taking this man down is the key to taking out Dusty Rhodes.
Yes, when you take him down, the rest will fall.
That's right. And then Shivani had been interviewing them. David Crockett runs in and says, no, here's what really happened, and had the angle from some other TV show where Tully and Baby Doll broke up. So, Crockett's interviewing Tully and Baby Doll. Tully asks her, I haven't seen you in weeks. Where have you been? Baby Doll explains, well, you bought me that ticket to Acapulco. J.J. Dillon told me you bought me a ticket to Acapulco, so I went on a Mexican vacation. And J.J. stepped up and said, look, you're a beautiful woman, but you need to do a better job of spreading lies when you're trying to cover your tracks. And Tully instantly believed JJ and assumed Baby Doll must be lying to him. Then we got some stuff that would not fly on TV in 2016 when Tully hauled off and slapped her in the face.
Guy just way later.
Yeah. So Dillon then holds Crockett back as Tully grabs Baby Doll by the hair. And before he can do anything more fiendish, Dusty comes out to make the save. And he is shouting at Tully, never put your hands on this woman again. Did he say this because violence against women is the wrong thing to do? No. Dusty said this because she don't belong to you. She belonged to me.
She's now Dusty's property.
He has commandeered her.
Yes.
Stolen her.
But she didn't care.
No, as we shall get to.
She likes a champion.
She will get to later in the show. They go back to the studio after this. Now Tully's all pissed off they've embarrassed him by showing this footage. He cuts this fiery promo on Rhodes for sticking his nose where it didn't belong. He vowed to take Baby Doll back and teach her a lesson. This will never be shown in a great moments in feminism class.
No.
Harley Race versus Tony Zane. I don't know how many thousands of men Harley Race has wrestled in his illustrious, glorious career, but very few of them were worse than Tony Zane.
Maybe none.
Quite possibly none. The neck breaker he fucked up here.
He did the old, let's go for the neck breaker, but I'm going to bump way too early.
Yes.
And Harley Race will just fall down.
Yes. They had a horrible match, and Race won with the middle rope headbutt.
Tony Zane was so bad. And even like Harley was, this was 1986. Harley obviously is in a wheelchair now, but even in 1986, he looked like he was having a hell of a time getting around. Trying to get up to the middle rope to do his diving headbutt. It was just kind of slow.
This was very clearly not prime Harley Race.
This match was a level of horrible I've not seen in some time.
Yeah. Ivan Koloff came out for a promo. He was in street clothes, which meant a cheap suit, and I don't know what you call that hat he had on.
Who knows?
Jaunty. It was definitely jaunty. And a big, huge trophy. Because he and his Russian comrades had just won these 6-man championships. He said he knew the competition for this championship would be very fierce, because all you Americans are going to come and try to take this title from the Russians, because the Russians are champions. That makes you sick. He said they had proven the Road Warriors were not as bad as everyone thought. And he vowed to beat the Rock and Rolls and regain the tag team titles, and also said Nikita would be Magnum for the U.S. belt. And it's really too bad that all didn't happen, and Nikita was just a champion in all 3 divisions. Singles, tag, and 6-man.
Fine little promo.
Yeah. Ron Bass versus Bill Tabb.
Bill Tabb versus Ron Bass.
Yes.
This was one of those rare matches where sometimes you look at the two guys and it's like, okay, this guy's in shape. He looks good. The other guy's fat, out of shape. It's clear who the superstar is. It's the exact opposite in this match. Bill Tabb had a good physique, and Ron Bass was a fat, sloppy guy. And Ron Bass was the star.
He beat him in a minute with a claw.
With a claw.
Pinned him with a claw, I believe. And as he's leaving the ring, one fan shouts, "Thank you, Ron."
Man.
And I can only assume that Bill Tabb was black, and this was in Georgia, and that's why this fan was happy.
That's just not right.
I know it's not. I got no other reason why he'd be so happy to see Ron Bass win.
I don't either. During the commercial break, they always have this old school 1985 graphic. It's so ghetto. And it says, come right back because, and then it'll say something like, great in-ring action to come, or you won't want to miss what's next. They go to commercial this time, and it says, and I quote, we will be back with the Major League of Wrestling. And they return with Dusty.
Okay.
It's all about Dusty.
Yes. So Dusty's there with Baby Doll. Now, last time we had seen Baby Doll, a half hour ago, she had been violently attacked by one man, and then another man had come along and said, she's mine now. Like cavemen, these people were. But Baby Doll is thrilled. She's thrilled to be Dusty Rhodes' woman. Dusty is bragging about taking out Ole Anderson. Says, I have a crappy body because I hate going to the gym. It doesn't matter because I make $500,000 a year.
Yes.
This after bragging about destroying a man's leg and taking a woman through physical force. How is this a babyface promo?
He flat out he told us, I'm rich. I don't work out. I'd rather party. This woman is my property. And he was the good guy.
And I injured a man's leg.
And I tried to kill a man.
Yeah. He explained Baby Doll was not his valet. She was his personal.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
It's personal.
He gave her a chance to speak for herself. How gracious of him. And she explained that she promised revenge on Tully. And then she had said she was thrilled to be by Dusty's side because he had her heart of gold? No. Because he had defended her honor? No. Because she loves champions. That's what she said.
Yeah.
How is any of this a babyface promo?
She's a blatant gold digger.
Yeah. And Dusty's going along with it.
He's taking advantage of it.
This was bizarre.
Let's just keep watching.
Ron Garvin versus Mac Jeffers.
I did like that when he introduces his personal, and she talks about how she always loved champions and vows to pay Tully back. As they're leaving the stage, Tony is just laughing.
Yes.
Because he's thinking the same thing we are. What the fuck?
Yes. So,
more Jeffers.
Mac Jeffers took it upon himself to take Garvin down 30 seconds in and go for a win with his feet on the ropes. Don't do this, everyone.
Let me talk more about this. So, first off, the idea of putting your feet on the ropes is that if your feet are on the ground, your weight is equally distributed. Whereas if you put your feet up high, more weight will be on your opponent.
Yes.
Okay. So normally your opponent will be next to the ropes. And you will be perpendicular to your opponent with your feet on the ropes.
Yes.
Not this fucker. He has Ron Garvin's head facing the ropes. He covers him in a perpendicular manner, so he's parallel to the ropes.
Yes.
And then he tries to put his foot on the ropes, putting himself completely off balance.
So he was on all fours making this cover. The ropes were not behind him.
They were next to him.
They were off to his side.
Yeah.
And he put both feet on them.
The Jeffers clan.
I'm shocked this tactic failed.
Oh, they're amazing.
So Ron Garvin was very annoyed, and for about 3 or 4 glorious minutes, he beat the fuck out of this man.
David Crockett is both the best and the worst in the world at his job.
Yes.
When his job is to stand there and interview guys in between matches, he's just terrible. But when he's there calling the action like a fan, he's unbelievable. He's pulverizing this guy, he screams. He's so excited as Ron Garvin beats the shit out of Mac Jeffers. Ron Garvin is this week's best wrestler of the week.
We need more Ron Garvins in 2015.
I didn't mention this, but last night, and keep in mind, everybody, this was my buddy Dave Gray came over. He wanted to watch UFC, but he's also an old school wrestling fan. He used to watch all of these shows. One of his favorite memories as a kid was when his dad took him to the Great American Bash.
Wow.
Yeah. So when the show's over, he doesn't have the network. And I'm like, dude, you got to get this network. We were just watching this Ron Garvin Ric Flair match. This is immediately after the Robbie Lawler-Carlos Condit fight, which the 5th round of that fight was one of the best rounds in the history of mixed martial arts. Dating back to the 1800s, as Harley Race would say. Fucking unbelievable round. I go, you gotta watch this. I put on last week's show, and we watched Ric Flair versus Ronnie Garvin again. Even after Condit Lawler, that fucking match was better the second time than it was the first time. We marked out more for the match the second time than we marked out for the fucking fight. God, Ronnie Garvin was great. And he just pulverized, as David Crockett said, this young Mac Jeffers. It was awesome. And then he punched him for the pin.
Yes. His finish was a punch.
He punched him right in the face and it was over.
Shivani goes to interview Harley Race. We had discussed Race's cardio and his difficulty moving around. We have not discussed that he paired this with an enormous permed afro and a mustache. Hell of a look for this man. He said he had held the world title, the real world title, not that plastic thing, 7 different times. This was the world title, he said, dating back to the 1800s. And now he heard that Magnum TA was the next big star. Well, tonight we're going to find out how bad Magnum is. And then, down the road, he's got a cage match for the world title in St. Louis. We're going to find out what kind of a champion Ric Flair was. That was a good promo. Road Warriors versus Josh Stroud and Gene Ligon and Mark Hawk in a 2-on-3 handicap squash match. The Warriors won in about 15 seconds with clotheslines. In those 15 seconds, I believe it was Ligon, but the fat guy in the singlet, he may have shown himself to be the worst wrestler in the world in a mere 15 seconds.
He was very, very bad.
He was horrible.
And let me get this straight. The Road Warriors are going to have a squash match, and they can't find one fucking jobber that doesn't have the last name Hawk?
Yes. I made it better.
You know, this is not in any way hard-hitting analysis. But when the Road Warriors hit the ring, you fucking knew carnage was coming. That's why they were so awesome.
Yeah.
You knew when the Road Warriors hit the ring, all hell was going to break loose. The shit was going to hit the fan, as they say.
Oh, yeah.
And it did.
Oh, it did.
And you know what? It's exactly like Brock Lesnar. And he's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Who else, when they hit the ring, do you know that shit's going to hit the fan? Nobody.
No one in years.
Brock is it.
Yeah. So
I knew that with the Road Warriors. I knew that with Ronnie Garvin.
Oh, yeah.
The list goes on and on.
Yes.
With every one of these jobbers.
After the break, the Warriors got a promo on Oli, and then the Russians. So the Russians are 6-man champs. So we just proved we can beat 3 men by ourselves, but the rules won't let us challenge for the titles as a twosome, so we're going to have to find a partner. And that's basically all they had to say. Raging Bull versus Larry Clark went way, way, way longer than it needed to. I did not need to see Raging Bull working over Larry Clark's thigh muscles for several minutes. He put on a toe hold.
God, the Raging Bull.
He used a half grab, and finally he won with his flying forearm. This sucked. And yes, for Raging Bull, he had that tremendous match with Buddy Landel, and it's been all downhill since then.
I'll say.
David Crockett interviewed Ric Flair. He had a lot to say. I did not get it all down. But one of his points was, in Dusty Rhodes' promo earlier, Dusty had claimed to be the highest paid athlete in the world. And Flair said, no. I spend more money on booze and a night of drinking with Leona Helmsley than you make in 6 months. Dated, but still a great line.
Yes.
Then he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but this is basically his point. Now that Tully and Baby Doll were broken up, he could tell the truth of how he'd always felt about Baby Doll. He always thought she was ugly.
That's terrible.
No, that's not his exact words. Maybe it said something
Well, what he said was, everybody called her the perfect 10, but come on.
Yeah.
On my worst day, she'd be at the bottom of the barrel.
Yes, that's a quote. He always felt that way about her, and he said, out of respect for Tully, he wouldn't let her ride Space Mountain.
But she was begging.
So she was begging. You want to make that clear. So to recap, yes, She's ugly, Flair said, but the only reason he didn't bang her was because he had respect for Tully.
Yeah.
So apparently he bangs ugly chicks all the time.
Yeah. He's Ric Flair.
But yeah,
It doesn't matter.
He gets 7s and 8s.
I mean, he mentioned that on his worst day. It's got to be
true.
a bad one.
All right, yeah. So yeah.
He flat out said, this Flair promo was unbelievable. How many times have I mentioned the gap between the stars and the geeks is so vast? Unlike today when virtually every single person is at the same level except Cena and Brock are above everybody else. God, Flair was just so great.
Arn Anderson versus Kent Glover. Everyone, hold your hand out to the side, palm up. Now make a fist. Now swing that fist in front of you. That is how Kent Glover threw punches.
Still better than Gabby Garcia.
Still better?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Arn won with the gourd buster.
I would be remiss if I did not mention that Ric Flair, in his promo, was mentioning about how he had such giant footsteps that even Bigfoot could not follow him. That's what he said. Ric Flair mentioned Bigfoot.
I couldn't get it all down.
That's what he said.
I had a lot to say.
Even Bigfoot could not follow in my large footsteps.
Okay.
What a line.
Shivani interviews Flair and Arn together.
You know what makes me sad? I don't know. Like, there's so much stuff. If I had 5 hours to interview Ric Flair, there's so many things I'd love to ask him, and I bet you anything you'd have no idea what I was talking about. I mean, he can't remember his promo about Bigfoot.
No.
But I'd love to know more about it. Did you watch The $6 Million Man, Rick? Were you aware of the Patterson footage? What was it that caused you in this promo to talk about Bigfoot?
Was Bigfoot in the news in 1986?
Well, he was big in the 60s and 70s.
I see.
So Flair must have heard of Bigfoot.
Oh, sure. So Shivani goes to interview Flair and Arn together. They showed we talked about the angle that opened the show, and they showed many times. But here's how it all went down. Ole was having a match when Dusty Rhodes jumped him and attacked his leg. Put him in a debilitating figure 4 leg lock, came off the top rope onto the leg. Meanwhile, his big 300-pound buddies, the Road Warriors, ran interference, so the Horsemen couldn't save their friend. Then when it was all done, the Horsemen finally cleared the ring and tended to their fallen comrade. This is the most bass-backwards thing I've ever seen. Since, this seriously was Vince Russo at his peak lack of logic.
Kind of. It was revenge.
You could argue it as a taste of their own medicine.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. They had done this to Dusty.
Yes.
And Dusty finally got his revenge. But yes, the theme of this show, up and down the show, every heel believes he's a victim.
Yes.
Everyone.
That is true.
Every single one, no matter what happens. The Horsemen could blow up the Omni, and a babyface would run in and make the save, and they would call themselves victims. I cannot believe that he ran in and attacked me. We only blew up the Omni. How dare he come in? Every heel is a victim. It's great.
So they show this angle, and then Flair vows to put Dusty in the hospital within 90 days. And then Arn cuts the best babyface promo he ever cut, with one exception. But he's talking about how Ole helped raise me. Now Dusty and his 300-pound buddies have crippled him in front of his own eyes. The only misstep he had here was in a live promo, he said, "I have been inbred with Anderson blood."
Well, you know.
Live TV, everyone. So,
hey, maybe he had.
Can't verify.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Baby Doll came out. She warned Arn he was next. Arn told her women were put on this earth to make dinner and make babies.
It was so amazing because they're acting like victims. They are acting like they have been wronged, and they're good people, unlike Dusty Rhodes. And Baby Doll comes up and says, "You're next," and all of a sudden he just erupts on, "You're a woman, you're good for nothing but making babies and cooking." Loses his mind because they're dicks.
Your wife was in the room with us. She did not like this line. But for the record, your pregnant wife had just made dinner.
Oh, Vinny.
Just saying.
Wow.
Just poor timing.
Wow.
Just poor timing. Flair then said, "Baby Doll, if you had ridden Space Mountain, you'd be like this." and he laid himself out on the floor in the starfish pose and just stopped moving. He left her laying. This was something else.
No comment.
Jimmy Valiant versus...
What are you sighing for? This is the highlight of the show.
This is the highlight of my life.
Jimmy Valiant versus a jobber.
A geek whose name I didn't get, but he was so much worse than Jimmy Valiant.
He was such a jobber that he was the only guy on the show they didn't even put his name on the screen.
Yes.
He had no graphic. There was no way to identify this man.
At one point in commentary, they called him Bevins. So Mr. Bevins, apparently, is his name. I don't even want to know his first name. He's just Bevins. This was so ungodly terrible. This is the kind of special kind of terrible where you watch this and think, people thought this was real. Jimmy won with his dancing elbow smash. The whole time he's wrestling, by the way.
Must have been Adrian Bevins.
All right. J.J. Dillon and Tully Blanchard have stated publicly that their plan is to attack Jimmy Valiant and put him out of action and put him on the shelf. After saying this, they came out to ringside to watch this match. And after Valiant left, they cut their 84th promo of the show.
Before we get to that, let's talk about Valiant's finish. Whatever my wife thought of the promo, life turned around when she saw Jimmy Valiant do his dancing boogie-woogie elbow drop.
Yeah.
I rewound it. If it would have been easier to rewind... I did, because it's Apple TV. If it would be easier to skip back 30 seconds on Apple TV, I'd have watched it 100 times, because it got better every single time. Mostly because the setup for the elbow was he had to throw this jobber into the ropes and hit a clothesline. That's fucking it, okay? This was too much for this jobber. He couldn't hit the ropes. He could barely bounce. And then he took the worst bump of all time. And then Jimmy did his boogie-woogie dancing elbow. Goddamn. The hell happened to wrestling?
There was no more Jimmy Valiant.
Nothing on Raw will be better than Jimmy Valiant's elbow drop tomorrow. Even Vince.
Oh, God, no. So Tully and JJ then say, they just vowed to take out all of Dusty's friends. A point they'd already made very clear. Jim Cornette came out for a promo bragging about winning Manager of the Year in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He has been calling out the Rock and Roll Express for months now with no reaction or no answer from the Rock and Rolls. And so finally, to get the Rock and Roll's attention, he distracted them after a squash match, and the Midnights jumped them from behind and beat him up. And so Cornette cuts this promo saying, now we have your attention, now we're going to take your belts and put you out of wrestling for good, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is something else we need to bring back in 2015. Challengers calling out champions for months and getting no response, so it's a big deal when they finally attack them.
I loved how happy Cornette was to be the PWI 1985 Manager of the Year.
Yeah.
A mere decade later, we mocked Nova for talking about his ranking in the PWI 500.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Loverboy Dennis. That's what it said. Loverboy Dennis versus Rocky King. I have not seen a ton of Dennis Condrey. I assumed he was primarily a heel tag team guy and also a pretty good brawler. God, he was awesome here.
He was great.
They did some great chain wrestling.
Cornette talked about how women around the world were jealous of Rocky King for being in the ring with Loverboy Dennis.
That's right.
Until they saw the brainbuster at the finish.
He may have legit killed him with a brainbuster. He lifted him up for a suplex and then dropped him straight down onto his head.
If we don't see Rocky King again after this show, I'm sure he's dead.
Yeah. So yeah, Dennis Condrey was awesome. Dusty and Baby Doll came back out for another promo. Dusty made fun of Flair for, and I quote, having a spasm of some sort earlier. He said Flair's story of Baby Doll chasing Flair around a hotel wasn't true. The truth was, Baby Doll had turned Flair down due to lack of size.
See, that's a lie. And we know that. There are legal papers talking about the size of Flair's Johnson.
I've heard many witnesses.
And how he spun it around like a lasso.
Yeah.
So Dusty's not telling the truth here.
Many
or
witnesses
Baby Doll's lying.
Have said that Flair is proud of his girth and is not ashamed to show it off, and they have seen it with their own eyes. But Baby Doll did not deny that here. No, she said she may have had sex with Flair, except he had a small dick.
She didn't say those exact words.
It's the message she implied.
Well, yeah.
All of this is so bizarre. Magnum TA versus the Barbarian.
They called it a dream match. Hell, let me tell you something. Big fan of the Barbarian. Not once did I ever dream of seeing this match.
Wake up in the morning, man, that Barbarian Magnum TA match in my head was so great.
Damn it, I woke up. It's going along so great.
Harley Race comes out to do commentary. We talked earlier about he appeared to be old in this show, and he did himself no favors when he talked about losing the U.S. title to John Valentine in Greensburg.
Greensburg, North Carolina.
Yeah.
He talked about the match with the Barbarian.
I hope Barbarian.
The Barbarian.
Not even just Barbarian.
I gotta say that, like, I had such a love-hate relationship with Harley's talking on this show, because the promo we did earlier was, like, it was a good tough guy promo, but he wouldn't have even passed a WWE tryout when it was promo time.
No.
And then, like, he's doing this commentary, and I can't decide if it's just, like, fucking horrendous or if it's awesome. Because, per the standards of Jay Lethal, for example, he was terrible. But everything he said was funny and fit perfectly into the beer-drinking, tough guy, tough as nails, Harley Race character. Referee gets bumped and he's yelling at the ref, "Hey, you just got brushed!" All of this just tough guy, take no bullshit. It was weird. I couldn't decide if I loved it or hated it.
I've been a critic of Paul Jones in the past, but I will say this man, at times, knew how to be a heel. Because about 3 minutes in, he comes up to the announce desk and says, "I am claiming a moral victory. We have ended Magnum TA's streak of 30-second wins." Then he went back to watching the match.
Yeah.
What a tremendous chump.
An accomplishment.
We have managed to not lose in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, match went on. Magnum, this is the second time in a week we've watched him. He was such a great brawler. His punches looked awesome, and he'd be throwing these right hands, then he'd take one headbutt, and he'd sell it all great like he was woozy. Oh, he was awesome.
Let's cut to the chase.
All right.
Magnum has the win, but the referee has been brushed, as Harley Race says.
Check.
Brushed so hard he was thrown out of the ring and killed.
Yes.
Harley thinks this guy's the biggest pussy for this.
Yes.
So Magnum has a win, no referee. Paul Jones comes in, waffles Magnum with his cane. Barbarian makes the cover. And Harley Race says, "We need a referee." The ref's down. Harley runs in and counts the pin. Now, unlike on Nitro, this is not official.
No.
Then we get the best thing I've ever seen. Harley Race and the Barbarian become besties. They double team Magnum. Harley Race and the Barbarian. And then Harley Race looks at this wild man and he gestures to the top rope. "Let's go do our headbutt together." That's Harley's plan.
Yeah.
And they go to the top rope and they deliver a double headbutt to Magnum. I was like, I can't even... This turned into a dream match.
And Magnum, by the way, sold this double headbutt. He did not grab his head and moan and roll on the mat. Magnum lay there like a deceased person.
He lurched and then laid in dead man's position.
Yes. He was done for.
Now that I think about it, in my wildest dreams, I could not imagine a scenario where Harley Race and the Barbarian are best buds.
So Race goes to cut a promo. He says, and this is truth, he had hit the ring to count a pinfall, but he had never laid a finger on Magnum TA.
That's right, he's a victim.
Magnum had attacked him.
Yeah.
Harley had only defended himself. The Warriors returned. This is all one segment. This match, this Race promo, and the Road Warriors coming out. The Road Warriors go on about what they're going to do to the Russians or whatever. And Paul Jones, in 1986, the fans called him Weasel. Obviously, that name would go on to a far superior manager before all was said and done. But the fans were chanting Weasel at Paul Jones, and so they had a shirt. They said, in life, there's two kinds of people. There's weasels, and there's weasel slappers. At this point, Hawk unveiled a T-shirt that he had custom made that read, in pink letters, Weasel Slappers.
Wow.
And he gave this gift to Tony Schiavone. That was an awesome rib.
Weasel Slappers.
Weasel Slappers.
Man.
They went to commercial. Came back, and we had the best thing I ever saw in my life. Tony Schiavone interviewing Jimmy Valiant. I don't even know what to say.
I do. You won't believe me when I say this, but Mark Briscoe would have thought this man out of his mind.
Yeah. There actually are some similarities between the two, but Mark Briscoe was at a 10 and Jimmy Valiant was at about a 17. Like, just look at him clapping and bobbing his head and two-stepping back and forth all the time. And I mean all the time.
Oh, yeah.
This man was never still. This man was never sedentary. This man was in constant motion. He said it was no secret that he was friends with Dusty. They were tight like Willie and Waylon.
Willie and Waylon.
Yeah. And if those horsemen, if they think I'm a target, if they want to come and take me out first, I dare them to come out right now and try. That was the best. To recap.
Jimmy's great.
In 2016, we need more Ron Garvins.
Yep.
We need more Ric Flairs.
Yep.
More Mac Jeffers.
You have way more of them.
And a lot more Jimmy Valiant.
Yep. That about covers it.
Probably some other things I missed in the show. Sam Houston and Nelson Royal versus Pablo Crenshaw and Don Turner.
So this match starts, and I use the facilities. I'm gone for maybe 30 seconds. I'm hoping I don't miss any action. But by the time I get back, the match is over. And literally all I saw of this match, which to me was all I needed to see, was Sam Houston hitting his Bulldog finisher and nearly wiping out his own fucking partner.
Yeah.
God!
Nelson Royal, he was old and fat and bald here. He'd been many-time junior heavyweight champion. He could still move, but you could tell he just didn't
Moved
care.
up a weight class.
He may have moved up a weight class. You could tell he didn't care. He was out there to get in and out and get his money and go home.
Why the fuck would he care?
I don't know.
He was teaming with Sam Houston to take on Don Turner and Pablo, or as it was announced last week, Pablo Crenshaw.
I don't have an answer to that. Magnum TA cut a promo saying he'd had Barbarian beaten. Everyone knew it. And Race, you were many times world champion, but that was in the past. Today, I am the U.S. champion. You're not. I will defend this belt against anyone. And Race, I don't think you're half the man you used to be.
Wow.
Them's fighting words.
Especially to Harley Race.
That is words to fight over.
Criminies.
And that was that. And that was, as usual, a very fun show.
Yeah, that was great. That one week that this show was the worst show I ever saw.
Such an aberration.
We can now officially say that was an aberration. Well,
I see 2 boxes over there.
there's 3.
There's 3? All right.